How you doing, Lovey?
I'm great. I'm feeling excited and anticipatory and giddy.
Giddy.
Yeah.
She's giddy, ladies and gentlemen. Did you see? See, this is what giddy looks like. So, hello, friends. We are live inside the Building Real Love in Real Life group. I'm David Lee. That's Paige Stewart. Daring Deeply, your hosts and facilitators, coaches, all the things. And it is here in the States. We are getting ready to celebrate a traditional holiday called Thanksgiving, or as I like to call it, Turkey Day. So we thought we'd jump on here during our weekly lives before we really start diving into the festivities and talk about boundaries. And I remember, Paige, the last time we talked about boundaries, we did it a couple of weeks. It's been months and months ago. People are like, oh, please give me more, give me more, give me more.
Mm-hmm.
Boundaries, as we've discovered in our work, is, how would we say this? The most impactful, most challenging aspect to a healthy relationship. If we have boundaries, we have polarity. If we have boundaries, then we are working on our trauma. We are working through our relationship through a trauma-informed polarity lens. Boundaries is really the key to everything, wouldn't you say? Yeah. I'm pulling up, I'm not ignoring you, my love. I'm just pulling up the Facebook group so I can watch us in case we have some people who, oh, be quiet. Do you hear me?
Yeah, the most challenging aspect of relationships is holding boundaries. And so boundaries are so important because that's how we keep our autonomy, right? We get to stay individuals in the partnership. It is by far and away the most requested content that we receive. And I think it's super important and very necessary to discuss, especially as in the United States, we're entering into some holiday parties and being around family and friends and extended circles that might violate our boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was going to say something. It's gone. That's a great way to start. That is a fantastic. I like what you said.
We must be done.
No, we must be done. Yeah, exactly. So Chrissy is here. Good to see you. She says, hey, watching with Mike in the car while driving through Atlanta traffic.
Oh.
For those of you in the States or in the South that know about Atlanta traffic, they're probably traveling to family. So it's good to see you, Chrissy and Mike. Thanks for jumping on. So boundaries, in essence, as we describe them, is an internal affirmation of an external understanding of who you are and what's important to you. So a boundary is negotiating and understanding who you are and what's allowed and what's your no and what's your yes and what do you allow and what do you allow people to say and do and how you hold your interdependence, your autonomy, as you said. And far too often we give keys to our kingdom to everybody to come in and say, oh, I have something to say and this is really important. And we're going to ensure that what we believe is what you should believe. There's an example of a violation of a boundary, right? So when we enter into social environments with people that we're not normally spending time with, like so many people will engage tomorrow, again, here in the States during Thanksgiving Day, where, oh my goodness, I'm not used to dealing or navigating these relationships. And I'm not sure really how to talk to these people. I'm not sure how to, or what I share, or what is going to be shared, and there may be, as we often know, that some of these holiday gatherings can be riddled with underlying stuff, right? As we like to say, it's like, I don't normally spend time with these people. I really don't know them, but yet I feel some sort of obligatory awareness to think I need to be here and I need to have conversations and it's really uncomfortable or awkward. So how in the world do we establish boundaries with people that we don't normally navigate with? That's really kind of what we're talking about today. So what would you say?
It's complex. Yeah, it's super
it is complex.
And it's really important to shine a light on. And I think one of the complexities to understand is who leads. So when we bring polarity into this and you're going to either her family or his family, like who leads in those environments? And I would love for you to answer that question.
Thank you. That's what you call teeing up. That was well done. So again, ladies and gentlemen, those are watching. And if you're watching here live, let us know that you're here live. And if you're watching this later, hashtag replay. So within our teaching and coaching, polarity, the masculine leads, the feminine follows. The masculine is decisive, right? And the feminine is surrendering to his decisiveness. Now, we're not going to necessarily get into all the complexities and like, whoa, what does that mean? And what is that? You know, we certainly can. And those of you that have been following us for some time, you understand the grounding of polarity and how it works in a relationship. And that when you have one masculine forward energy and you have one feminine forward energy, that is nirvana within a relationship. So if we think in terms of the masculine leading, making the decisions, leveraging the brilliant intuition of the feminine to make those decisions, see how that works, that when we travel, that we go into holiday celebrations with friends and family, that if we're going to the man's family, right, it's natural, it's within polarity for the man to lead those interactions and for the feminine energy to follow his decisiveness. So if there are things that are going on or things that are asked or uncomfortableness or awkwardness, is to follow his lead in how things are communicated, how things are navigated, that he is making the decisions and she is there in support of his decisions, because this is important, because the both of you have had pre-framing conversations. This is really important. Prior to arriving to these family engagements, it's really important to get your stories straight, so to speak, right? And to anticipate potentially some things that could be awkward, some conversations that could be awkward, and then be absolutely assured that the two of you are on the same page. It's super important to lead this conversation, gentlemen, to lead the conversation before you enter into that home. To say, hey, this is potentially what could happen. Uncle Fester, I don't know why I came up with Uncle Fester. Uncle Fester may say something very inappropriate or ask you questions or encourage you to do something or say something that may be really awkward, is that you have an idea of how you're going to lead your social interaction within that particular situation. Mm-hmm. Then we have, did you want to say something? Do you want to say something on top of that?
I have an example.
Great, please.
An example. So there was a time where I was at a holiday gathering, wherever that was. It was at my family's house. And I experienced some sort of comment that was condescending and or passive aggressive towards me. And in that moment, I was kind of like looking around, like waiting to see my partner at the time to see if he would stand up for me and defend me. Mm-hmm. And that didn't happen. And so that's an example of leadership and lack of leadership. So what I was hoping for is to have him step forward and to either respond back or to just ensure that I was okay or, you know, protect me, do something, lead in some way. But the lack of leadership, the lack of him stepping forward in any way, then subconsciously in my body categorized him with the people that actually made the comments. So now like he took their side, and it's because he didn't step up and lead and try and provide and protect me in that way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely makes sense. And to shield you, this is important, gentlemen. Okay, it is the responsibility of the masculine energy to protect and to shield his woman from any and all attack. Did you hear that? And I'm not just talking about the physical attacks. I'm talking most notably the emotional attacks that could happen at these holiday gatherings.
For sure. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Like passive aggressiveness and condescension and criticism, like all of that has been made out to be very funny and very lighthearted. It's the like humor of today. And it's because people are hiding behind so much pain. And like, that's how they know to connect with one another. You're just tearing each other down and laughing it off. And so you're like expected to have thick skin, when in reality, it doesn't have to be that way. Like you don't have to be like berated. And the only way that pattern is going to stop is if you break it. And if you stand strong in your boundaries, you use your voice, and the two of you as a partnership can lean in together and ensure that those boundaries remain ultra strong.
Yeah, exactly. And this is, a side trail that we could certainly go on is this idea of passive aggressiveness and sarcasm, which, by the way, passive aggressiveness and sarcasm, and just kidding, okay, that's all a trauma response, friends, okay, and it's completely inappropriate in an elevated relationship. And so when you're entering into relationships that aren't necessarily elevated, where folks are coming from all over the place and they may have no idea what trauma is or polarity or an elevated conversation, and you may be expecting them to understand that. And the reality is you can't expect anyone to understand anything, but you can hold your boundaries and respectfully disallow you being treaded upon that's inappropriate, like Paige just suggested. It is super important that the masculine and feminine are together on this. Because as Paige just illustrated, it can feel, gentlemen, if you are not defending the honor of your woman, you are just like the people who are attacking her. I'm gonna let that mic drop for a second, okay? So your duty in your masculine energy, gentlemen, is to protect and to shield your woman from all things coming at her that are dysregulating to her nervous system, okay? And that is how you hold a boundary. You don't have to do it meanly. There doesn't have to be a grudge fight out in the front yard that comes out of the Turkey Day football game, okay? You can be incredibly respectful, which is how we teach elevated conversation and language and how to navigate that. So this is the case within whoever's home that you're going in. Is the masculine is leading the boundary conversation and supporting his woman, no matter whose home you are in, right? So that we have support and we have leadership. And when those two are intact, boundaries remain very strong and you are a team. As Paige is illustrating, she has felt in her prior relationships that there wasn't a team there, that there was two individuals, and by her former partner not standing up for her is an illustration of him not standing in the same space as her and therefore on the other side. Ouch. I want to welcome Brent is here. Cindy is here. Good to see you. Let us know where you're calling in from. Drop us a little thing in the chat, in the comments, and say, hey, this is where this is interesting. And please, if you're watching this later and you have a comment or you have a question about boundaries and holidays and all of that, drop it in. Or maybe it's a situation, maybe it's a story, right, that you'd like to share. I'm sure we all have certain stories from holiday drama, right? And so how do we combat drama when we visit and we are engaging with families in holiday situations? Boundaries, boundaries, and more boundaries. So go ahead. Do you have something else?
I was going to ride that drama train for a little bit, but I don't have to, because we're probably about time. We're out of time.
We're getting there. Yeah. Cindy is here from St. Louis. Oh, good to see you, Cindy.
But you can mitigate drama by when people are leaning in to try and talk about other people, you don't have to reply to that. As long as you're keeping the conversations about you and the person in front of you and kind of providing that lane, that structure for the two of you to conversate and communicate, then there should be no drama at all. Talking about other people
you're engaging in, for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's another little nugget of wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Gossip is a violation of boundaries. Okay? Imagine if the person that you're talking about is standing in the room. You probably wouldn't be saying those things. And that's a violation of their boundaries and yours, right? By not focusing on what's going on in the moment. So gossip can happen a lot at family settings. And especially if the person that's not at the family gatherings will sometimes be victimized by, well, I guess they didn't show up. Right? Well, what you can do as an elevated individual, okay, now we're kind of getting outside of the bounds of coupledom, but certainly you as an individual, whether you have a partner or not, it doesn't matter. But when you are in those situations, you can help establish boundaries and set a new standard in communication by not getting involved in the gossip at hand. By either exiting the conversation, there's one way, is simply removing yourself physically from the conversation, or if it feels appropriate, to actually stand in the boundaries and say, I don't know. You would have to ask them if they want to talk about somebody else. So a little bit of tidbit of wisdom and insight there. So let's wrap this thing up. Let's put a bow on it. When you're navigating holiday family situations, arrangements, dinners, parties, it's super important to be on the same page with your partner, regardless of where you are, whose family it is. It is super important for the masculine to be leading and protecting and providing for his woman in those situations, for him to stand up in the gap, even when you're attending her family. And perhaps it has gone on for decades that, you know what, the humor is just a little biting. It's just a little sarcastic. Oh, we're just poking fun. Okay. If we are insulting in any way, it is the responsibility of the masculine to step into that gap and protect his woman all the time, but most especially in environments where it may not be on a regular basis and you are spending time with people you don't normally spend time with.
Yes.
That's all. That's it. What are your
Bingo.
That's all I got.
Yeah, that's it. That's the biggest takeaway.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we will bid adieu for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being on live. I hope that you gained some insight and some thoughts and some value here. We are typically here every single Wednesday at noon Central here in the States, and then please jump on. If you are watching this live, fantastic. We love the people that are here live with us. And if you're watching this later, #replay. We so appreciate you. Thank you for being in the Building Real Love and Real Life group. And stay tuned. We have, by the way, one announcement. Well, we could make 1,000 announcements, but I want to make sure that everyone here is aware that we are having yet another free complimentary night of coaching event coming up on December 12th. It's a Monday. I believe it's 2 weeks from this coming Monday, as a matter of fact.
Wow.
We had a huge crowd that showed up a couple of weeks ago on our first one. And so if you're interested in registering for that complimentary event, please drop a comment in the comments and say, yes, I want the link. You have to register to get the Zoom link. So please do that. That's coming up on December 12th. It's a Monday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central here in the States. Paige and I will both be on the call to take your questions. The questions that keep you up at night about relationships and sex and intimacy and polarity and trauma and all the things. So we invite you to be there. In the meantime, we wish everyone an incredible Thanksgiving here in the States, if you are celebrating that holiday. And as far as I know, we'll be back next week. Yeah.
We'll be here.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, friends. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you next time.